A pattern that I see people go through, a very common occurring theme, is one where they work really, really hard, have high levels of intensity, for them to reach a point where they achieve something great and crash and burn. So there's the season of high work ethic, really going for it, being your best self, and then you revert back. You relax, you let go, you feel like you deserved some rest. And maybe you recognize yourself in this pattern completely and you say, yeah, that's me to a T. Or maybe you have little spurts of it here and there in your life. Either way, it's not sustainable and it's not helping you be your best self. You might say, well, I'm pushing myself, I'm reaching my limits, and therefore I'm growing. And yes, you're right, but you could grow even better if it was sustainable. You would have a better time. You wouldn't have to experience as much stress and pressure being put on yourself. You wouldn't bump your head against that gnarly glass ceiling and continuously feel pain. It doesn't have to be this way, and I wish that I realized this sooner, because if you really find the sweet spot, you will feel like life is easy. Work, quote unquote, is easy, because it's not really about how much time you put into what you're doing, it's about the quality of time that you put in. You could play the guitar every day unintentionally. It wouldn't necessarily make you a master at it. It wouldn't make you the best in the world. It would have to be intentional practice, and you'd have to, really see how you can get better each time you play. Hopefully by having somebody look over you that knows more than you, or by teaching yourself, which is great too. The point that I'm making is that if you want to get more out of yourself, stop going for these spurts. Stop trying to have the sprint and then rest, sprint and then rest, and find yourself a nice flow that's sustainable. Find yourself your sweet spot. Now, you have to ask yourself, how many hours do I have to put in to be progressing towards my goal and really taking a big step each day, but still, at the same time, have enough bandwidth to relax, let go, and bring myself to a state where I can then do it again to the best of my ability. To raise your performance, you have to consider all the variables, and it's not just about how much effort you put in. It's also very important that you're in a good state. Imagine if you were an athlete and you're trying to perform in a big match or a big game, and you're sick and you feel awful, or your head just isn't in the right place, even if your body is. You have all these intrusive thoughts about how you're going to miss and how you can't play well and how nothing's going your way. How do you think your performance is affected? Well, if you're guilting yourself into working really, really hard for a time and then guilting yourself into relaxing because you work too much, do you really think that's you getting the most out of yourself? Even if this isn't you making the decision, even if it's unconscious, now's your chance to wake up and say, hey, I'm taking charge here. I don't like these unsustainable patterns, these unhealthy cycles that I go through, because I'm putting myself at a disadvantage, and really, I'm harming myself in a way. What if you could be more integrated? What if you could look at why you do these patterns, why you have to work so hard, why you have to be so obsessed, and actually see yourself for who you are? What's the driving force behind the decision making? Because if you can understand why you're making the choices that you're making and why you are really following the patterns that you are, then it becomes easy to correct it and to become your best self. I clearly remember one of my main driving forces when I started out trying to build my own business. It was about proving everybody wrong, and that's a big reason why I was working so hard. Now, did it pay off? Yes, of course it did, but it also hurt me because I had this chip on my shoulder. It wasn't coming from the best place. When I shifted, when I started approaching it from inspiration rather than desperation, all of a sudden the pressure eased up, I performed even better, and it wasn't difficult to get way better results for much less effort. I want you to have a higher return on your work ethic. I want you to enjoy the fruits of your labor more and not make life difficult for yourself. So, if only you could take a moment, instead of pushing, instead of grinding, instead of working hard, to really reflect. you might see an opening, you might see some light shine in, and some of those cobwebs and some of that dust will become apparent. And you'll understand that, hey, here's maybe not the best system for me. This approach could be improved. Not how many hours you're putting in and working harder, not resting because you deserve it, but rather understanding yourself at a deeper level and really seeing what drives you, what's the fuel source. And once you know what that is, you can change it, because there's many reasons to do what you do. There's many reasons to go after your goals, and you could still be on the same track and going down the same road for a different reason. If the reason is better, then everything becomes better. The whole adventure, the whole journey really improves in quality. And I want that for you. Now, if you want to step up your performance even more, if you want help really going deep, understanding who you are, what makes you tick, and elevating how you're performing from a place of inspiration rather than trying to force yourself to, and to also rest better, then go to erafael.com. Book yourself a one-on-one call with me. We'll talk and we'll see if you're a good fit for my flagship program. If we decide to work together, you'll be joining an amazing community filled with like-minded people, and we'll get to work together on a one-on-one basis. I'm looking forward to speaking to you, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Take care.